Hello, my name is Felicia Moore, and I'm our candidate for mayor of the city of Atlanta. Thank you so very much to the Atlanta Association of Educators and the Atlanta Federation of Teachers for allowing me this opportunity to share with you. Just a bit about me. I am originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. Came to Atlanta because when I was in high school, we did a trip through the country visiting black colleges and universities, looking at HBCUs, and of course we came to Atlanta, and so we were so excited to come to the city. A group of us snuck away from our chaperone and went down on Campbellton Road to Cisco's nightclub. Don't ask me how I got in, but we did, and I thought I had died and woke up in Black Hollywood. I was so impressed with the beautiful, professional dressed people in the party that I said, if I ever move, I want to make Atlanta my home. Well, I didn't make Atlanta my home then, and I went to an HBCU at Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. I'm a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. I graduated cum laude with a degree in communications and went back home to Indianapolis, but always had Atlanta on my mind. And then had an opportunity to come here. And as I got here, I got right involved. As soon as I bought my first home, the very first day we were moving in, my mom and dad were helping, and someone drove up and said, hey, we're starting a neighborhood association, and I went with them, and when I came back, I told my parents I was the president of the neighborhood association. So I dove headfirst into it. I've also chaired my neighborhood planning unit, worked for a council member at City Hall, ran and won District 9 council seat against a two-term incumbent, representing a very diverse district, one that has a large Latino population, as well as one that actually goes from bankhead to buckhead, as they call it. And so I am used to dealing with and working with a diverse group of people. And then now I am president of the Atlanta City Council. I am happy to be here to talk with you because over the years, we've always had this conversation about working with our school system. And it's been a conversation, and it's been lip service. It really hasn't happened. And I really want to make sure that this happens, as I am mayor, to make sure that we make connections, utilize our resources together, and advocate on behalf of our children. Because education is extremely important. It's the number one thing that my dad always taught us as kids. You got to get your education. And I know that it has helped me, and it will help us to break the cycle of generational poverty in our city. We've got to focus on education and making our school system the best school system that it is in the country. And as our next mayor, I want to work with you, and I want to work with our school system to make sure that happens.
Thank you, President Moore. We're so glad that you took time out of your busy schedule to be with us today, and we're humbled.
Thank you.
I have the first question. What distinguishes you from the other person running in this race?
Well, it's experience. Let's start with experience. I've been on council for 20 years and I've served as president. But what I've done in my service is not just deal in the bubble. And so I have experiences that are outside of my opponents. One that I'm on the Atlanta Regional Commission, so I have relationships built and have worked with in policy with the Atlanta Regional Commission, with commissioners and elected officials across the region. I have held leadership positions, and this has been since I've been elected now, GMA since I got elected. So this is going on 24 years, building relationships with elected officials across the state, working and fighting and lobbying with them on behalf of our city. And I've also done that on a national level, making sure that we're advocating for federal policies during National League of Cities, holding many leadership positions and roles there. So I have not just the silo of what happens at City Hall, Hall, but I also make sure that I made those connections to help make our city better and to represent our city better. That's one of many things, as well as authoring many pieces of legislation, knowing policy, knowing how it affects us, but more importantly, having a real intimate relationship with our workers, because if those are the people who serve our city, and they knew I have an open door. I have addressed their issues, and I know what the issues are because I know from the ground level.
Thank you for that. And I have to say, we're not trying to have a preference here, but we do know that this particular state's person has been very accessible. We will say that, very accessible.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question. Your opposition is a person who is highly respected in Atlanta, as you are. If you are not elected as mayor, what will and can you do to help your former city council colleague be successful with their agenda and priorities?
Well, certainly I would offer myself, if I was offered an opportunity to serve, to continue to make this city great. The reason I'm running for mayor is because I see the dysfunction, and I see that we're going in the wrong direction. And I got in this race early. I got in this race challenging the current mayor, feeling that I really needed to get my hands on the wheel to steer us in a better direction. Understanding I have invested most of my adult life into serving the city. And when you put a lot of investment in something, the last thing you want to do is watch that investment go away. And so I will certainly want to make sure if he offers me something that I will do the best I can to serve the city.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. The top 3 priorities that you will have as mayor.
So the top 3 I will take as priorities that I have in my platform. One is the number 1 threat to our brand right now is the safety of our city. And, when you get people calling you from out of town saying what's going on in Atlanta, you have a problem. And that can hurt our financial viability, people wanting to come here, tourism. That is a big part of what we do to run this city and to provide the services that people need. So that's one priority. And I have 5 areas, 5 C's I call it, that I want to address that. And I have it in extreme detail on my website. The second is city services. Making sure people get the services that they pay for and they deserve. And all of our departments are dysfunctional, mismanaged, equipment is down, facilities are bad, morale is low. So there's a lot of work to do to make sure people get the outcomes for what they're paying for. And then the final piece is making sure that we're serving the city transparently, making sure that people know how their money's being spent, what we're up to as city government on their behalf, making sure that we have an ethical government. I've passed many pieces of legislation to get at that, but I have served with integrity and will continue to do so as mayor. And that's important because you can't attract good talent to work for a city that they feel is corrupt. Mm-hmm. And so it has a lot of, and also we have a lot of major issues we have to address. And we're not going to be able to address them if they don't trust the elected official who is leading them. Mm-hmm. And then finally, accountability, being accountable to the people we serve, doing what we say we're going to do. If we get it wrong, just admit it. We got it wrong. This is how we're going to write it. And, holding people accountable when they don't do right. There are 2 pieces of legislation I authored as president that are, I think, the proudest moment I have. One is we have the first inspector general in the city and compliance officer, and we also have someone to independently review our procurement process and contracting, so we don't have funny business and pay to play at City Hall. So those are 3 of many top 3s that we have in city government.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the city charter names 3 governments. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the 3, and what can and will you do to ensure they work smoothly and in tandem for the citizens of Atlanta.
So you're referring to the judicial, legislative, and executive branch, or you said three governments?
Fulton County school system, and then City Hall.
Oh, okay, got you. So that's a whole nother issue.
Yep.
So here's what I'm going to do, because that's why I started out to talk about the collaboration that I've had, not only, and I did mention, state as well as another piece to that. And the first and foremost, the mayor's got to show up. You got to show up. You got to participate. You got to communicate. Doesn't mean you always agree, but you got to do that. So that's one thing that I have done and that I will continue to do. Fulton County and the school system, we've got to do more than just have the lip service that I've known that we've had over the last few decades that I've been in there, where we are just talking, but we're not doing.
Right.
And then we have to be agreeable that we are all serving the same people. And I think that we miss that. We're serving the same people, whether it be the kids at school and their families, or whether it be the people who are at City Hall. And at some point, I hope we can ever get to, we can even collaborate more financially on how we procure things, what we do, so that we are giving the best to the citizens that we have in the city. So I will be, as soon as elected, reaching out to the leadership as well as the membership, the board, the superintendent of the school system, the commissioners at Fulton County, the court system, all of those things that impact our city, and letting them know my door is open, my phone is available. Let's talk, but really let's get some things done on behalf of the city.
If I can comment, I remember a person, they're already in office, when we asked that question, they said, we have 2 people on this board and 2 people over at City Council that already work together. One of the state senators was listening and said, who knew? But anyway, okay, thank you. Okay, could you give us an example where tax abatements, I call them rebates, were given to companies and or developers? And what's your opinion as to why this direction is best for citizens?
So let me say this about incentives. They are not being used properly. When the state created the redevelopment power laws, particularly when we're talking about tax allocation districts, which has been a big source of problems between our school system and Atlanta. Right. Because I've been around when it first happened, I think the school system really didn't realize the impact or their equity in it. And as time went on, they started to get a little bit smarter about it. But by that time, we had eaten up all our capacity to do it. For instance, when the Beltline was done, I love the Beltline. I love the project and I love the vision. But it was all around the city, so it was in areas that didn't meet the test of the law that established the ability to do it. And that is, but for this incentive, something would not happen. It's meant to be in blighted areas that need that lift. And we have used it, I believe, in many ways for areas or for projects that didn't need that lift. And in my administration, any incentives is going to go through an equity lens, and it's going to really go through that but-for test. I want to back it up as opposed to them coming to me and say, give me a tax abatement. I want to say, I want a grocery store on Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway.
Okay.
Bring me a grocery store and I'll give you an incentive. I think that we have been doing it backwards, where we ask for what we want and we attach the incentive to incentivize somebody to do it versus someone bringing a project to you and then you give them a little money.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. I like that. Now, I like this next question. So, in some cities, the mayor chooses the school superintendent. So, in your opinion, what are the advantages and disadvantages of such?
Well, in some cities, because I do talk to colleagues across the country, as I said, I'm really active in the National League of Cities where the school system is not as it is here, where it's independent. And I believe at one time we were together. I do think that we're fine with it being separated because, believe me, the school system has one job, and that is to make sure that they're providing quality education for our kids. The city of Atlanta has a million things that we have to do in terms of providing services. I think that the mayor can have a role, certainly have a voice in who the school superintendent should be, but, I'm not so sure that we would be in the best position to make that decision. because the board is going to ultimately have to work with that person.
That's true.
We have one more question, and this question will seem like it really doesn't relate to the other part of it. If you are not elected, you will have another mayor rather. Give us 3 characteristics that are positive about the other person who's running, and then we want to ask you something about the airport.
Okay. So 3 things that are positive. Very likable. I believe ethical. And I would say, I think
Good looking. I'm just messing with you.
Well,
Okay.
I will say that's a good one. He is handsome. He's a very handsome, very great smile.
And he'll say you're beautiful. We're going to ask him the same question.
He's going to have the same question, to be fair.
He better call me beautiful.
But we threw this one in because there's been a lot of talk and drama and mistrust, distrust about the airport. Mm-hmm. What are your plans there for the city of Atlanta with the airport?
We'll make sure that it's running ethically so that we don't have the corruption issues that can get the state ready to try to do a takeover. Mm-hmm. But one of the visions I have for the airport is to sort of do a Maynard Jackson 2.0. When he started our minority business program, we're still kind of with the same companies that started before.
True.
And there have been so many people who wanted to get into the airport. And I want to make sure that we have sort of a new entrance program where we maybe, we do set aside to make sure that we are at the table, but also maybe to set aside some of those opportunities so that people who haven't had an opportunity to work in the airport have the opportunity to have concessions in the airport. I really want to make sure, not only for that, but just contracting in the city in general, that we do that and that we preserve our airport, make sure we expand. I love to expand our cargo. I want to make sure that people who are working there are getting a living wage or better. So I want to make it a better operation than we have now, but make sure that we don't lose it or have a threat to lose it because people feel that there's some pay to play or some other things going on there. I'd say that, when I become mayor, I will be issuing a death certificate to pay politics in the city of Atlanta.
Okay.
And then I will also issue a birth certificate to people who have been locked out of City Hall and want to have an opportunity to help and work and make our city better.
Okay. And if I may, I just have one short question, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts and/or plans for our water boys? They are our instantaneous generation, and what I mean by that is that they provide a service in their own way, and they are paid daily. So it's hard for them to grasp the concept of working and getting paid later or saving. So what are your plans to help our young people see the light in a different fashion?
Well, you have to provide the opportunities, and some of them will take it and some of them will not. One thing I would like, if they just want to sell water, if that's their thing, let's get them selling water in a safe manner. We have a lot of festivals in the parks and places like that. Why not allow them to sell to patrons in the park? That way they're out of the street in a more safe environment. But I believe we have to get our job done by getting our summer job program back up and running, getting a job readiness training program where we can pay them. These kids want to make money.
Yes.
And the reason why I am emphasizing the job readiness is because it's important before we put them in a Home Depot or somewhere else with a job. They need to really kind of understand the nature of having a job so that they can keep it. I know many people have tried to pull them off the corner and put them in a job, and they don't last very long. So there's a lot of work that we have to do, but I believe in providing the opportunity, providing the option, and if they don't take the option, then we'll have to deal with them in enforcement on these corners. This is too dangerous for them as well as for the people that they're trying to sell water to.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Very
Thank
good.
you so much.
Our Mayor Maynard Jackson had this financial training and job training for students and and he had some of the people in the community, Ruben and all of them, helping with just even job development. But thank you for that answer. That's good. We would like for you now to give us about 2 minutes, anything that you would like to say to Atlanta as your closing statement.
Well, Atlanta, I am fortunate to be able to offer myself to be our next mayor of the city of Atlanta. As you all know, this is a very critical point in our city. We have an opportunity to move in a different direction. People who have known me in my service know that I am an independent thinker. I'm one who will do my research, make sure that I'm looking comprehensively at what I'm doing. I'm a policy wonk, so I'm going to make sure I'm studying to make myself approved and making sure that whatever direction that we take, that we also understand the risk and the rewards that may come with that. I want to make sure that we bring this city together. It's not being said enough that every part of the city feels a part of the city. And there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm going to be asking you, Atlantans, business community, our teachers, our organizations, our unions, our universities of higher learning, faith community, philanthropic community, nonprofit community, all of you all to come knocking on the door at City Hall and offer yourself to help. Many hands make light work, and we have a lot of work to do, Atlanta, and I will be so proud to be your next mayor to get the work done.